Today we're going to be unboxing and reviewing this Century FC-90 Flux core welder. So I picked this up for about $200 from Home Depot. Pretty good deal. I've seen some good reviews on it online. I think one of the reasons it's so cheap is just purely because its size. I mean, once we take this thing out, you'll notice how tiny it is compared to like a Miller or it's out of the box. So here it is out of the box. I mean, jeez, thing's tiny. It's about a foot by 6 inches by I think a foot. Right out of the box, it comes with your MIG gun, grounding clamp, and a strap that you can put on for portability. As this thing is really light, I think that's one of the main advantages of something like this versus a larger machine is, while you might get better welds with a larger machine, this thing you can just pick up and carry somewhere. Just looking at the interface, you can see how this is a higher quality than some of the welders of similar price. Other ones, for voltage, they just have a minimum and maximum. This one you have an infinite variability, as well with wire speed. Opening it up, we have the typical wire feed mechanism. Doesn't look like you can put a very large spool on this, but it's not like we're going to be pipeline welding anytime soon anyway, so I think we're good. On the hood you have your regular graph for figuring out your voltage, depending on the steel gauge and thickness. It claims it can go up to about 1/4 inch. We will test that if I can find any 1/4 inch metal, as that stuff is expensive. Another great thing about this little machine, it runs off your typical 120 volt house voltage. You don't have to do any major electrical work, and you won't be blowing breakers. While I was picking it up, I picked up a couple other goodies. A brush set for cleaning off the welding surface, typical welding pliers, the 035 Flux core welding wire, a few magnetic goodies. Really important, fire extinguisher. Welders aren't a fire hazard unless you're welding in a place where you really shouldn't be welding, so around dry straw, etc., anything that's flammable. Really nice thick pair of heat-proof welding gloves. These will come in handy all the time. And then a auto darkening welding hood. In order to test this thing out and give it its first real project, we're going to be turning this black cart into a welding cart. In order to feed the wire in, open it up, attempt to open, there we go. So remove this little piece right here, pull that off, and then just slide it on. Feed it into there, then flip this piece up, feed it in as much as you can, and then clamp it back down. Once you've fed the wire, plug it in. Make sure this is not contacting anything. And then just hold down the trigger. Cut the wire, and then feed it through the contact. Make sure your grounding clamp is always attached, or you really just won't weld. For this, I'm going to turn it up to 8.5 for the voltage and 8.5 for the wire speed.
BeatStars.com.
Not the greatest. I mean, seems to have good penetration, almost laying a bead, but getting used to not having shielding gas is going to be an issue. So, I mean, I just got to practice a bunch more. So this is the third day I've had the welder, and I finally figured out what I was doing wrong. So, what I learned on MIG gas welders is that you want to have your gun in this kind of motion. So all the way across, just crescents. Now, flux core, what you have to do is do just curly Q kind of motion. I know these aren't the best welds, but this is the best I've gotten out of it so far. And for a $200 welder, I'd say they're quality. I'm gonna mount this first, right here. Hopefully that'll be a good spot. I don't know, it'll be fun. Best $200 I've ever spent, hands down. Alright, look, literally just plugged into regular house wire. All you gotta do is plug it in, get welding. As you can see, I've put in a few little screws and bolts and stuff to hold up the pliers, brushes, more brushes, and then just a place to put the gun. Make sure you're not blinding yourself by accidentally getting it going. Yeah, I mean, I'm really happy with this. The power cord isn't super long, so if you want to be doing a lot of portable welding, I would get an extension cord. But I mean, the gun is pretty long, and so is the grounding clamp. So I mean, overall, it's a pretty good welder. There is one problem though, especially with flux core. There's a lot of waste smoke. All right, do the research. Make sure you're not welding certain materials that can actually cause lung cancer. This kind of galvanized stuff you can't weld without grinding every single millimeter of it down, or it'll produce zinc fumes, which will I'm pretty sure will kill you. So I just set up this little fan, plugged it into the same thing that the welder's plugged into. That's so crazy to me. You don't even have to have a separate line. So yeah, it's somewhat powerful. I'm happy with it. It'll be enough to blow the smoke immediately out of my face.
BeatStars.com.
Handled this lawn mowing blade pretty well. Let's try it on some thinner stuff. Pretty sure this is 18 gauge steel. This welder is great for its size. After welding on similar machines such as Miller MIG welders with shielding gas, flux core welding is different. You can't get as nice welds as you can with shielding gas. However, it doesn't mean it's not good. A lot of these connections seem really solid. From the stuff that I've welded so far, it's held together. The penetration's good. And for the price, it's just an absolutely amazing welder. I'm really happy with my purchase. That's pretty much all I gotta say. I mean, it's a great welder. Overall, I think that one of the biggest reasons to have something like this as a beginner welder is you don't have to rewire all the electrical work in your house. I have a friend who welds with a Lincoln, and every single time he welds, he blows the breakers in his house, which A, is a fire hazard, and B, just isn't great for the electrical system. So honestly, if you're doing DIY projects, welding up go-kart frames, building little stuff, as long as you're not doing pipeline welding, this thing is amazing.